Hold on.
Is there any sound coming through?
Oh no, Paul will have reversed me, won't he?
No, we've got sound back. Sound is back.
Have we got
Sorry about
sound
that,
back?
guys. Sorry about that. See,
I've just been trying to write sound on, but I got it backwards. So
Oh
yeah.
dear. Oh dear. I'm so sorry, everyone. The joys of doing stuff live. Please forgive us.
Do we have to repeat all of that again? Oh, fuck's
Oh,
sake.
do we have to start again?
No.
Oh my god. Roll the
I had
credits.
a shit week. That's all that matters. I've had a shit week. I've been ill. I did loads of drag stuff. There we go.
We've all been busy. We've discussed the first scene of Star Trek. I was going to say Star Trek Titan there. Oh, good God! The first scene of Star Trek Titan with Vadik just pissed as a mongoose.
Yeah. She's an angry one, isn't she? She's so angry. But no, what we were saying about Vadik is that on my one on Amazon Prime, despite all of the problems we've had with subtitles and all the spoilers so far, I didn't get any subtitles for the little changeling henchman. Like, so Vadik had subtitles and then he didn't. And so I had no idea what he was actually saying in his alien language. And then Goodwill was like, oh, well, I got subtitles. And I'm like, oh, well, I just assumed we weren't meant to know what he was saying, you know?
It's very weird that the subtitles. It's weird that Amazon Prime, because
it had some bits in it where the subtitles are like where subtitles appeared for like a flash and then vanished, and they kind of happened before stuff. So I basically think that they I think that they like just messed up or they typed them in. So maybe his subtitles were there, but like in the wrong place later in the episode or something. But
what is Jeff Bezos doing?
I didn't know.
I think he's
firing
sabotaging
all the people that know what to do.
He's an Expanse fan, and he's just trying to upset the apple cart when it comes to that. But yes, that was what we've just been talking about. Scene one. Obviously, this is the wall of bankruptcy, as I was mentioning there. This
Look
is
at
literally.
They're amazing.
It's it's absolutely beautiful. It's a mix.
I've never been so turned on by a set of Billy bookcases. I'm just saying that now. Okay, that's like oof, that's an erotic IKEA shop. That is
big of. But I have said to Graeme that if I do step back, a really expensive model will be destroyed. So I have to be very careful of how I position my fat
just don't move.
Yes, but I did say I've got the wall of bankruptcy behind me. I have got the semi-wall of almost bankruptcy in front of me, and then next to me, I've got the wall of Battlestar Galactica and Mass Effect.
Yeah.
I will tell everyone why I'm in this position later on. For two
on the OnlyFans.
Yes, but there are two reasons for this. Yes, it is Starship Porn Blue Harvest, and I will tell you why it is Starship Porn later on. So after the Vadik scene, after the intro, we go to the Titan, where Crusher is telling Picard that Jack has Irumodic syndrome, and that it is terminal. So Picard feels the instant burden of passing on this disease, which he had, which, as Star Trek fans will know, Picard succumbed to at the end of season 1 of Star Trek Picard.
Well, luckily there was a quick and easy fix for that. You know,
it was
not a weird plot device or anything.
It was very much Control-C, Control-V for Jean-Luc. For season 1.
There we go. Just laugh. Oh, fixed. Yeah, so there we go.
Yeah, the snippet tool of Star Trek. So Crusher basically says, look, Jack is taking this, quite seriously. Go be with Jack, reassure him that his life is not over. So we go to everyone's favorite set, 10 forward, me and Graeme have just said. They are getting the mileage out of this set, and by God, we will see a lot more of it this season before the finale, I think.
They're really gonna milk it. Like it's like Frasier, where they had like 2 sets and they were like, this is all we're gonna use for the whole thing.
Yeah,
we have one corridor, we have the bridge, and we have 10 forward. There we go.
Yeah, I was also just before the sound came back on, I was telling Graeme that the 10 forward bar was actually a real bar that they used as a promo for season 2 of Picard last year. So what you see on screen was also very real, and it was and I can't remember where it was, somewhere in Hollywood. But yeah,
You said California, didn't you?
California.
Oh no, San Francisco.
No, Los Angeles. Sorry, my mistake.
Oh,
Los Angeles.
One of these American places.
One of these Californian towns.
Fucking Tennessee with their drag ban. As long as it's not there, it'll be fine. You know.
Yes, damn them and their cheap whiskey.
Fuck you, Tennessee.
So Picard enters the holodeck 10 forward, where Jack is just necking his Jameson whiskey again. We're loving the Jameson here. And
they funded 10 forward.
They funded 10
official sponsors of 10 forward.
This is where basically Jack goes, he's reassured by the fact that he's not crazy, he's just broken. And Picard basically says, you can live with this for decades, and Jack goes, well, how did you survive? And he goes, I didn't. So it's quite literally, how did you survive, Dad? I died. Okay. So no control C of E for me? No control C of E for you. Oh, okay. Neck the whiskey.
You've only got another 50 years or something.
Yeah, and there's a lovely bit towards the end before we get the con from 7 where Jack just goes, hey, guess I was doomed before I was even born. And I'm just like, oh, that's very early 2000s emo.
That's it.
Of Jack. He's going to listen to My Chemical Romance now in his quarters when he's when he's unhappy. But we get the little com that some people are ready to beam over to the Titan. And tiny little technical nod, we get the original transporter sound from the original series. And I love that. I love the tiny little detail through this season, the little sound effects. But who should beam over, Graeme?
Who could it possibly be? Also, how did they get here this fast? I know we don't know how much time has passed, but you're just like, hang on.
Yeah, the Lacerina.
But no, it was great. It was great to see Raffi and Worf again, and it was really good seeing the rapport between them and the other crew members. It was the idea of that they are people that are friends, kind of thing, and they weren't standoffish. I was a bit concerned that no one seemed to care that Raffi was there, though. Picard doesn't even acknowledge it.
Well, 7 does.
He's like, Mr. Worf. Yeah, 7 does, but Picard's just like, hello, Mr. Worf. Nice of you to come alone, And Raffi's just like, what am I?
It's very this scene was a bit weird for me because it's like everyone was obviously, I mean, they know Worf the longest and I haven't seen Worf for a long time. Crusher doesn't know who Raffi is, let's be fair.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love the bit where he's just like, he's not a hugger and Crusher's just like,
I don't get it. I'm the only person in this room that can get away with it.
But Raffi and 7 I'll get into it later on when it comes to that. But very awkward.
Yeah.
Very awkward scene. And it's just everyone just hugging it out and Riker just teasing Worf almost immediately.
Yeah.
I love this. I miss this from the Next Generation films where he was just taking a piss out of Worf constantly.
But that's it. I thought it was really good. And obviously that in the episode later, it kind of plays on it. The idea of Riker being like, this is what our relationship is. Our relationship is that I tease you and you get really angry kind of thing because you're a Klingon. It's and that has been how it is. It's always him, taking the mick effectively. So it was nice to get back to that, I think.
But I love Worf's, it's been 11 years, 7 months, 3 days, blah, 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 aside from the odd communication and sour mead. And I'm like, ooh, Chateau Picard burn.
Yeah, that's it.
He's like, it's quite tart.
But that's the thing. That it's this idea of is he saying your wine tasted sort of bitter mead,
Oh,
and Picard's just like, oh well, fuck my drag,
Oh, I love that. But then it goes straight to because Worf's basically saying, there's a lot to discuss. Let's make sure Roald Lauren's death is not in vain. So they go straight to the observation lounge. And I love this for people who haven't watched DS9 or anything like that. There's a lovely bit of exposition about the Dominion War and how basically there were shitty tricks done on both sides, but Starfleet's was maybe a little bit more shit.
The problem is, though, that it's like it points out, like, this is the problem when you have fantasy, you tend to forget the reality of things. I know that sounds dumb, but it's the fact of like the only way, spoilers for DS9, by the way, the only way that the Dominion War gets won is by Starfleet doing the shittiest thing in the entire world, which is that creating a virus that will kill all changelings. So effectively, like, genetic genocide is what they do, and they do it without telling anyone, so it's a secret thing, so none of the characters are like in league with it. But the fact is, it does win them the war. Like, there is no way that the Dominion would have surrendered had they not have required the vaccine for that. And it's this horrible thing, and it's kind of suggesting, like, the same way that, like, we wouldn't have won World War II if the nuke hadn't existed. It's like, if we hadn't have nuked an entire city full of innocents, we wouldn't have won the war. And it's kind of pointing out just how fucking horrible you have to be during wartime. And and it's that thing of like, there isn't a good guy. Like, in the Dominion War, Starfleet has to get just as dirty effectively as the Dominion in order to fight the Dominion. So
it's the way, though, because what I noticed, and I got my back up when Picard said this, because he was like, Starfleet delivered the vaccine to the Dominion, to the founder homeworld, and I'm like, no, he didn't.
Yeah, Odo did.
Odo did. Odo went back and delivered the vaccine. You did jack shit.
Yeah, that's it. Like, Starfleet probably wouldn't have delivered the vaccine. They probably were like, oh, thanks for signing the peace treaty. Just die.
So a lovely bit of exposition for the Dominion War, if no one would watch DS9. And then they basically say that basically whatever's going to happen is going to happen on Frontier Day in 48 hours' time. And what they need to do, they need to go back to Daystrom Station, because when Vadic stole the portable weapon, something more serious was stolen. And, what was it? We don't know. We need to go back to Daystrom to find it out. And this lovely little exchange where Picard goes, so we have to burgle the people that are afterwards. And Mike goes, excellent use of the word burgle, Admiral. And I'm just like, do you not say burgle in America? What?
See, I didn't get the joke. I liked it, but I didn't actually get the joke, I was just like,
because I guess it's just a British, Scottish, Irish, Welsh thing that we say burgle. If there's any Americans in the chat, do you not use the word burgle? Because I'm a bit perplexed by this. I've never heard.
Yeah, do they not? It's so odd, because it's so, but then again, you've even got stuff like The Hobbit, which obviously like has Bilbo, where he's hired to be a burglar. So it's like, surely every nerd in the world must have heard the word burglar or burgle at some point,
Yeah, I don't get it. But the plan is that they have to go down to Daystrom Station. They have to go to the central data bank to retrieve the manifest of what was stolen from Daystrom. They said that the station was evacuated since the theft, and it's patrolled every hour. So they need volunteers. And very quickly, the Titan warps into behind the moon at Daystrom. And we see that Worf, Raffi are going to beam down. And we get the second, and again, this is the awkward scene I'm on about with Seven and Raffi, where I want them to talk about this. I want to find out what's going on, like you've been saying for weeks. Like, what has been going on with Raffi and Seven?
Yeah.
And again, we don't get it, because Worf comes in and he's like, I've got into battle with loved ones, and it can be totes orcs.
I must say, though, I did love this, where he's just like, he's like, do not worry. Well, I have been I have been to battle with sort of like, lovers before. And then they're like, oh, I'm not going with you. And he's like, thank God, that would have been awkward. That is a relief. It instantly changes his tune. He was like, I was trying to be helpful. I was trying to be.
His humor is just on point this season.
It's so good. It really like is. Worf.
Yeah. So obviously Seven confirms that she's not going down. Riker comes in because he's going down with him. And Riker basically says, oh, if anything goes wrong, we'll just use some good old Klingon violence. And he's like, you should know I'm a pacifist. And the little quip from Riker is just like, we're all going to die.
It was funny. But in the same sense, he has just cut a guy's head off. And he did just murder a lot of people. He's the worst pacifist I think I've ever seen. It's literally like someone telling you they're vegan while eating a Big Mac. It's, this idea of, just the idea of he's like, all right, well, I vote you I'm a pacifist now. And I'm like, you just killed like 5 guys last episode.
Shout out to Sneed.
And you cut a guy's head off the week before. It's kind of, you're a terrible pacifist,
Shouts out to Sneed. And
he's
also,
as
Graeme.
good a pacifist as Beverly as a doctor. Hot take right there.
The Keiko conspiracy coming soon to New North.
No, Keiko!
Also, shout out, because we know he's out there, ladies and gentlemen, and I've referenced him for weeks. Gary the Ferengi is floating in the galaxy somewhere. Somewhere, Gary. Rest in peace, Sneed. But Gary the Ferengi.
What if Gary comes to avenge Sneed?
Oh,
yeah, that's it.
Do we see Gary at Frontier Day?
Oh, he's behind it all. He's the boss of the Changelings, Gary.
That's Keiko. We know that. We know it's Keiko. So yeah, they beam down to Daystrom, and they've got this weird
no lights on.
Yeah, welcome to Daystrom. Insert your key, or you will die. Basically,
welcome to Daystrom, aka the set of Doom 3. It's. He's just going like, okay, this is interesting. I'm going to make the joke again that in the Star Trek universe, the cost of living crisis is still a thing.
Because he lives.
It's so dark.
Yeah, they can't afford LEDs anymore. Did you notice, or when they were saying please enter the key, and they finally enter it, and it says thank you, that it's Data's voice?
No, I did not.
Because the voice changes from a woman, and all he says is like, thank you, and it's Data.
I did not notice that one. I noticed it changed, but I didn't recognize it as Data's.
Yeah, so
or Data's if you're
sorry, Pulaski.
Pulaski, yeah.
So they're down at Daystrom. 2 Starfleet ships warp in. Nerdy shout out: USS Cole, USS Yorktown.
Yorktown we've seen before, haven't we?
Yorktown's been so many goddamn ships.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a Yorktown as an original series Constitution class down there.
So, really? I didn't realize it changed that much. I thought it was like really special when a ship carries on the same name. Obviously, like Enterprise, that's a flagship, and then the Defiant gets renamed. Another ship gets renamed to be the Defiant.
They have a very weird thing where a ship has to have certain significance in order to carry over the registration number. But you can have different names for different. You can have the same name but a different registration number. Which, again, okay, yeah, whatever floats your boat. That's fine.
That is confusing.
So basically, they can't stay there. These 2 ships, these 2 Echelon class ships, they've got weapons that can track them if they're fired. So Picard comes up with the idea: we need to go to Eighth and Prime. And Cindy's like, "Dude, are you sure Eighth and Prime?" And start. Shaw is just basically just get the hell out of here. Let's go to Eighth and Prime. But we stay on Daystrom, and this is where the Easter eggs start to come into fruition.
All of the delicious Easter eggs.
All of the delicious Easter eggs.
Delicious Easter chocolate.
I have all the notes. By the way, shout out to my team, the Niners.
I couldn't see the M there, so it just looked like it said Winers.
There we go. The Niners. The DS9ers.
There we go.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. The DS9ers.
Possibly one of the worst episodes of DS9, if I'm perfectly honest.
But Worf, though, death to the opposition.
Worf is brilliant, and I do.
I'm going to a baseball game in America.
The ass slapped face, like Vulcan guy who's just like, whoa, you are such a prick. Well done.
I'm going to a San Francisco Giants game when I'm over there, and part of me wants to stand up and go, death to the opposition. And then another part of me is going, do you want to be on a watch list when you leave America?
I think they put you on if you're not on one. If you don't yell that, they're like, hang on.
Yeah, I don't want to be on a register. I really don't. But they're walking through Daystrom, because they're trying to find the... no, I'm not on a list, Paul. Stop saying that in the chat. I can see you. I see everything.
Goodwill is already on a list. It's your Christmas list. It's your...
Yay!
It's your OnlyFans to subscribe to list, Paul.
As you can see...
This is where I suddenly get muted.
My present of choice is starships, please, because this is bankrupting me.
Please, for just £10 a month, you can allow Goodwill to continue his starship addiction.
For just £20 a month, I can get all the Klingon ships. So
for just £20 a month, Synoiz can buy more Warhammer after 4 months.
And paid.
Because it's really expensive.
So so they're walking through Day Substation and they are trying to find the mainframe, and they are exploring all these little panels. Now, I have, for your listening pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, and Science Officer Synoiz,
hello.
Are you ready for the list of what Day Substation?
Because I was looking around and I did not notice much stuff. I have like 3 things on my list, and by the sounds of it, you have a lot more.
They have.
I love how you're swigging Monster to get ready for this. He's just like, let's get the energy drink in.
I have to stay awake. They have Genesis 2. Because the effects of the first one apparently weren't good enough, so they built a goddamn second one. So they have Genesis 2.
Yeah.
We have a Borg Vinculum, which is from Star Trek Voyager.
What's a vinculum?
A vinculum is essentially the power node for the hive mind, I believe. Someone can correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. I apologize, but I believe it's like the power unit, the power node that connects all the hive minds. An attack tribble.
Yeah, which I didn't realize was a thing.
Attack tribbles? Come on, how cute. They will rip your limbs off, but goddamn, they will squeak.
I thought the whole point of dribbles is that they're just useless. Like, they don't do anything. So I'm kind of disappointed at the idea of an attack tribble, because I'm like, oh, they're actually a problem now.
The tribbles didn't breed as much until Starfleet got involved in the 2250s and genetically modified them so they could be breeding stock to solve hunger on various colonies.
Is that what they did?
There is a short trek starring none other than H. John Benjamin of Archer fame.
Bloody hell.
And Bob's Burgers, obviously, where he's a science officer that genetically modifies some tribbles to breed faster. It gets out of control and they have to evacuate the starship because it becomes so overcrowded the starship structure collapses in on itself due to the sheer amount of tribbles. These tribbles are then picked up by the Klingons. And thus the Great Tribble Hunt began.
Yeah.
Songs about the Great Tribble Hunt. All rolled up.
When Kalis got his first tribble.
Yeah. So we have an attack tribble. Interestingly, we see the body of Captain James T. Kirk.
Yeah.
From Viridian 3 is there.
I saw that one. That was an interesting one.
And President Jonathan Archer. So when high-ranking officials or notable people die, do they just get taken to this place and put in cold storage?
It's really sinister, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, it
really is, isn't it?
What? Like, that's not normal under any circumstance to be like, you are now an object. Thanks.
It's really, so that's my first bit of Easter eggs for you in this episode, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot more later on. But they are going through and they keep hearing musical. There's a musical note played that Riker picks up as I believe it's like an F sharp.
Yeah.
And then a holographic crow appears. And Riker goes, that crow is familiar. Right?
It was really odd though, because the crow appeared and I immediately thought about that episode, with obviously the guy with the anvil and when
Season
Data
6, episode 16 of Next Generation, Birthright Part 1.
Yeah. It's the one where Data learns to dream, isn't it?
It is. By the way, Jake from Nerdy Up North has been saying, when you do these references, can you please emphasize what they mean? Oh, I'm doing that for you, Jake.
Oh, I do enjoy that, Jake. Does that tickle your pickle, Dick?
Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 16, Part 1, Birthright, The Crow. That's where that's familiar. They hear musical notes. But Graeme, who appears?
Who could it be?
The Professor Moriarty.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Goosebumps, literal goosebumps when I heard him.
I was very, very pleased at this. And I like the fact that Riker is just like, oh fuck, we did not expect this. It was just, I love the idea of just Riker just being like, oh, this wasn't on my bingo card at all.
I would like to say I was right from last week with my theory.
Okay.
That the guard of the AI at Daystrom was Moriarty and the person who could trip him was Data.
But this is the thing, though. Were you? We'll discuss it later as we go on.
It's getting saucy.
Yeah, but it's the idea. But it's the idea of it was absolutely wonderful having Moriarty again. I don't know why he had a gun. He had a bit of a weird gun, but I do love.
He's defending Daystrom.
But I like the idea of Raffi just being there, being like, "What is this?" Like being the everyman, basically being like, "Why is there a holographic Sherlock Holmes villain?" And Riker's effectively just like, it's a whole thing. It's a
thing. Yeah. But the next scene, another geek out time because the Titan warps to Earth and Prime.
Yeah.
And we get to see the Fleet Museum.
Yeah.
And we get that lovely, lovely pan shot of the original Earth space stock, which has been moved here and is now the Fleet Museum. And we see rings around it with all these little starships.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Okay. Is it which is the scene where Jack and Seven are talking about them? Is it immediately?
This is a few scenes after. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if we should talk about the ships then or if we should talk about them.
I will mention the classes and then we'll go through the ships.
Okay.
We'll go through the ships then. So we see a Constellation class USS Stargazer. We see an original series Constitution class, a movie refit Constitution class. We see the NX-01 refit, which is now officially canon.
Yeah.
Because it was never canon. This is what they were going to do with season 5 of Enterprise. They were going to refit it so it had a secondary hull like the original series Enterprise.
Yeah.
That's in this scene. We see a D7 Klingon battlecruiser. We see a Defiant class. We see an Intrepid class. We see an Excelsior class. We see a Pioneer class. We see an Akira class, a Saber class, a Romulan Bird of Prey, Miranda class, and Nebula class with some other ships that I could not for the life of me identify. Oh my God. You can imagine I needed Kleenex after this scene because I just lost my nerd shit.
You needed a full pack of what is it, Charmin Ultra, didn't you? You needed a full roll of it.
3-ply. But they hail the museum and we see Geordi, and oh boy, Geordi is pissed.
See, I love the idea that we've been waiting so long to see Geordi, and we're like, oh, they're going to get on so well. And Geordi's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's literally just like, no, he's fully expecting Admiral syndrome. He's fully going, wait, Picard, you're an Admiral now. Now we can't talk at all because you'll ruin my life.
Yeah, because Picard's like, Geordi! And Geordi's like, lower your shields and power down.
Yeah.
Honestly, all he needed was a twitch. That's all he needed because he was pissed. And then they beam him over and we get that really touching scene though with LaForge where he's like, in the nanosecond it took me to D and then rematerialize. I was in debate of whether to give you a professional handshake or an uncomfortable hug. And I was like, oh, damn. He is really angry. But I love the hug. I did love the hug. Also, Alandra, who is LeVar Burton's actual daughter, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And basically Picard goes, Geordi, this is what's on. And Geordi's just like, I don't care. I want to talk to you. I want a word with you, right? Okay, no.
Yeah, I'll fucking have you. I like it. I think it's interesting though. It's like how different, like this series is very much about fatherhood as well. Like it's about sort of respect and trust, but also fatherhood. And it's this idea of how fatherhood is, how parenthood has changed so many people. And with Geordie, it's the idea of going, it has changed him because he's become hyper like protective of his daughters to the point, obviously, in this episode where he's very much like, let's not do any dangerous things because I want to keep my family safe. And Picard's like, adventure, you know?
Yeah. Everyone's gone full Vin Diesel, shall we say. Everyone's just about family. But yeah, they go straight to the observation lounge. And Picard just basically says, hey, we're not just on the run from Starfleet. Starfleet's compromised with Changelings. We need you to clone transponder. And Geordi goes, nope, can't do it, even if I wanted to. And Alandra basically says that all the ships in the fleet are now networked. Now, this is a goddamn callback to Battlestar Galactica.
Is it?
Because the reimagined Battlestar Galactica, what trips the fall of the colonial fleet and the destruction of the colonies is because all of the modern ships are networked. So it was incredibly easy for every single ship to be infected like that and power down. I wonder if they're going to do the same for these.
I think it makes sense. Like, it's one of these weird things. Because obviously, if Starfleet's been infiltrated by changelings, they're the people that probably suggested such a dangerous maneuver as this, you know?
Because also Geordi says, he's just said his third memo objecting to the fact that and this is so dumb, the entire fleet in one place.
Yeah.
Like, anyone with a brain would go, you're leaving like 8,000 square light years
unprotected, unguarded,
unprotected, to have one massive fireworks display on Earth. What the hell? And I'm so glad Geordi's basically the same as the fans going, that is a stupid idea to do that. And if anyone
I think the whole point is that it's the people pulling the strings are the people who are the bad guys. So it's like the idea of, if you know Starfleet's compromised, then it's like, they're like, that's exactly what we want. We totally want it all in one place, you know.
So it's very telling because Alandra basically says that, you know, every ship is networked, and the reason they've been finding you is because the Titan is also in that network. So you don't need to drop you can drop as many decoys as you want. They will still find you because it's within the network. The ship is talking to the fleet to say where it is. So they eventually they will find you. So we go back to Daystrom, where we see two Starfleet ships beaming down people to look for the away team, shall we say. We get more Moriarty.
We do. We get more Moriarty. I think it's great, like,
warriors.
I do like the idea of, like, you know, the way he talks and stuff. It was I think it was quite good. It was quite good, and I liked how he was like, you know,
he's not missed a beat in 35 years, that actor.
Yeah, no, it was absolutely brilliant kind of thing. And it's a shame, obviously, that the actor is very old now, like same as like Patrick Stewart. But it was wonderful getting to see him for a bit.
But they explained it away because Riker said this is not the same self-aware Moriarty that we had at the Enterprise. This is sort of like a guard AI. And all the time they're running from him, shooting them, there's still the musical notes playing. And Riker, being a trombone player, knows every single key, and he's like, what are you trying to tell us? What are you trying to tell us? And Moriarty is getting more and more irritated by these musical notes because he's like, it's an incessant pattern, and it builds up and it builds up, and then we realize what's happening and what they are trying to say, because the musical notes are Pop Goes the Weasel.
And then it does like an actual flashback to remind us what significance that is.
Oh, that was...
And it's of some kind of beardless ape man. I'm not
Baby
quite
Riker.
sure what... Baby Riker. It's before someone gave him a moonstone and he evolved.
Before he got a fertility statue from Riser and became a man,
and drank deep from the chalice of Rix.
Yes, he this was a callback to the very first Next Generation episode, Encounter at Farpoint, Part 1, where Riker meets Data in the holodeck, and Data is trying to whistle. And what he is trying to whistle is Pop Goes the Weasel. And at the end credits of Star Trek Picard, the musical notes you can see on the little LCARS display, that is Pop Goes the Weasel. So,
and has that been there the whole series?
It's been there the whole time.
And we never picked up on it.
The end credits have teased so much this season so far. It's insane.
I would never get it. I saw the musical notes, but I never thought to actually translate them.
Yeah. So Riker sings the end of it, because obviously in the first episode of Next Generation, Data can't whistle. So Riker finishes the song. So Riker finishes the song in this, and Moriarty is deactivated.
Yeah.
Because Moriarty, and I love this because Moriarty goes, marvelous. And then we see the scene when Riker in TNG does it, and Data turns to him and goes, marvelous.
Yeah.
And there in storage is Brent Spiner.
The actor, he's not even Data. They've literally just kept Brent Spiner in a chamber for 10 years.
Yeah, they have literally just kept Brent Spiner, but then it quickly goes back to the Titan. It goes back to the Titan, and they're still trying to convince Geordi. And Alandra said something quite weird, because she goes, "But Dad, what about Hangar Bay 12?" And I'm like, what's Hangar Bay 12? And I think Blue Harvest has had the same theory as I did. If they can't use the Titan because it's networked, how about they use a ship that's not networked, the Enterprise A? And I genuinely thought that's where they were going for this.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I thought this later on. But basically, Alandra walks out and starts to talk to Sydney, and basically said, look, my father's not listening. He's not going to help us or anything like that. And then we see the lovely scene between Jack and Seven, where Jack sits, just his ass barely touches the stage. He's like, out. And I love that. He's like, I'm just trying it out. But this for me is my favorite scene. As a ship nerd, this was my favorite scene. And it was one of the most touching scenes as well, because we get to see Seven going through all the ships, talking to Jack, and we see the first ship, which is
it's basically she cycles through them, and they're playing a game of basically, can you name the ship, as they're going through them all, and Jack does know all the names of them. But the first one's the Defiant,
with the DS9 theme playing over.
Did it? I didn't notice that one.
Yeah, they played the DS9 theme for the Defiant. They then moved over to they moved over to, and I was shocked when I saw this, the New Jersey, the original series Constitution class.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of hoo-ha with Strange New Worlds and that version of the Enterprise, because a lot of people thought that they'd retconned the original design from the original series.
Yeah.
This is sort of solidified the fact that, no, we haven't. It's still there. And to see that in 4K, that shape again, it's beautiful. And then we go over to the Enterprise A, which is my favorite ship, which I have got lots of models of over there. I've got both the A and the refit over there. And Jack's like, oh, retro lines, it's Kirk's ship. I'm a Constitution man. And I'm like, yes, Jack, yes, get in. Beautifully, the way they've built these ships in this series, they're absolutely beautiful. They've kept them so true. But again, so when we see the New Jersey, the original series theme plays, when we see the Enterprise A, the movie theme plays, and then when we see Voyager, Voyager's theme plays, and we get one of the best little things.
It should have been the
Jerry
Doctor singing, admittedly. It should have been the Doctor singing for that, but
a bit of opera.
I'll take the main theme.
A bit of opera, but Seven goes, basically, this is where is it? Where have I gone?
Jack doesn't know that one. He's just like, oh, what ship's that? And she's like, that's Voyager. the USS Voyager.
Yeah, she made a name farther out than any of these other relics have ever gone. I was reborn there. It was my home. The crew were my family. And I thought, oh,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really good to kind of have like, because this was a weird kind of thing. Because in seasons 1 and 2, we had Seven there, but then she didn't really feel like she was related to Voyager.
She
Like it
didn't
was
fit
very,
in, yeah.
yeah, it was very odd. Like it didn't, you'd kind of think that she kind of would have more connection to it. So in this one, having her kind of admitting, yeah, like that's a big deal for me, kind of thing. I thought it was really beautiful.
I mean, a lot of people have said this is too much fan service. I don't give a crap what you think. This was beautiful. This fitted. This was needed. This was medically needed for a lot of people because just seeing these, just seeing these ships, right, basically lets people know that the people behind it know Star Trek, care about Star Trek, and more importantly, care about the past of Star Trek.
Yeah, and they're bringing it into this universe. Like the scary, after I was complaining last week about like, where we're going like, oh, well, that didn't really happen. Or, oh, we're never going to talk about that. We're never going to mention that and stuff. So it's really nice just being reminded, yes, this happened. That's what Kirk's ship looked like. That's, the Defiant is a thing that exists, like the movie version, and like you're saying with Enterprise, where it's going, no, that did get like sort of upgraded later on, we just didn't get to see it. And I think that's wonderful to basically just be like, no, they exist in this universe. It's not like Discovery where it's like, oh well, we'll make our own universe with blackjack and hookers.
It's very, I think it was beautiful. And then the last ship we see is the HMS Bounty from the voyage home, the one with the whales. And even Jack.
Why wasn't the whale there? There should have been a full whale in space.
But even Jack says, oh, yeah, pulled from San Francisco. Because Seven goes, oh, this was pulled from San Francisco Bay. And he goes, oh, yeah, the whole whale thing. So even in universe, it's the one with the whales. Because that's what everyone calls it. It's not Star Trek The Voyage Home. It's Star Trek, the one with the whales. Because that's the most, that's what it's about. It's about whales.
That's the plot.
But she goes, oh, it was a nightmare trying to pull it from San Francisco Bay because the cloak reactivated, so they couldn't find it in the bay. And even you can see Jack's face going, ting, and he's like, But even then, just seeing that bird of prey, bird of prey right there. You can see the little gun shining off there.
That one.
That's General Chang's bird of prey. So that's not the Bounty, but
it's Vadic's ship.
That's. But yeah, so then we go straight back to
Blue Harvest is asking where George and Gracie are.
George and Gracie, in beta canon, they have repopulated the Earth's oceans with whales. According to Star Trek Star Charts in 2003, there was, I think it was 7 to 8 billion humanoids and about 7 million whales. They called them cetacean creatures, but
that's a lot of fucking. That's a lot of whale fucking.
That's a lot of sperm whales.
That's a lot of sperm.
But let's not forget.
G, how you doing?
Oh, hey, No Money G, thanks for joining.
At work, good show. Hopefully we're making it good.
It's fan service.
Maybe we're making it worse.
It's fan service that actually plays a part in the story. That's the difference. I'm listening at work. Good on you, No Money G. And yes, I absolutely agree. But yeah, so let's not forget
stuff where they fit it into the plot rather than just being like, here's a random reference. Here's a random reference. It's like
yeah. But yeah, just cetaceans. Let's not forget lower decks. We've got cetacean observations. Cetacean operations, sorry, with dolphins in Starfleet. Because they are just that goddamn intelligent. They just needed a universal translator. And the Enterprise D...
So long and thanks for all the fish, etc.
The Enterprise D, there, has cetacean operations in the blueprints. That is full of fucking water, guys. That has got dolphins working as Starfleet members.
Can we move on?
Do you want to know why?
Can we move on?
Do you want to know why, Graeme?
We've gone down a Voyage Home wormhole here, and I'm not keen.
No, not whales, dolphins. Do you want to know why, though? Because dolphins are excellent navigators. So cetacean operations, they are primarily used as navigators, stellar navigators.
So... Hey, Joe's here. Hey, Joe.
Oh, hey, Joe.
It's Captain Joe Duff coming over here with all of his good Trek knowledge and that.
Love
and
the
then we got
background.
Trilby Phil, Blue
Oh,
Harvest,
Trilby
No
Phil,
Money G.
hello.
Yeah, welcome to the stream, everyone.
I love the
We're
background.
talking about Picard, and we're just basically going, hello, look at all this.
Joe's highlighting in the background the wall of bankruptcy.
Yeah,
I'm just going to keep saying the wall of bankruptcy. So citations, observations aside, we are back at Daystrom, where we get a little bit more exposition. The data, this android, this Zoom type android, as they're called, is a hybrid, and we get a nice little callback to Nemesis, where Riker says, "Well, during the Enterprise E, when they found B4 and reconstructed him, Data transferred all of his knowledge up until that point into B4, but it was unrecoverable. And then we had the ban on synths when Mars got absolutely destroyed.
And that was never mentioned again. Thank you, season 1 and 2.
Yeah. I want to see Mars on fire, because apparently Mars is still on fire. Don't know how that works, but I want to see Mars on fire. But they basically say when the ban on synths, they couldn't do anything, but now that's being lifted, the world is their oyster and they're trying to do it. But this, we see B4's head and we see this Sung type android, and they're trying to transfer the data. And then we get a lovely message from, is it, I can't remember his name.
I think it's Atlan Sung, isn't it?
Atlan Sung, yeah. Where he's basically saying,
or Matalan, it might be Matalan Soon.
Matalan Soon.
Yeah,
yes, I hope he's got his
cheaper version, because it's out of date.
Shout out to all my Matalan veterans. I am with you. 7 years, never give up.
A lot of the Americans will not have a clue what Matalan is. That's like
we will educate them.
Kind of like the equivalent of Walmart, isn't it? Like Walmart just for clothing. But like, so
TJ Maxx.
It's actually kind of classy, but because everything is like 3 seasons out of date, so it's so out of date that it's become cheap, but it's still good stuff. And it's
I worked there, so I can testify that it was out of fashion. And my mother, who is watching this stream right now, still works there, so I can't disparage the company.
Is your mum watching this stream?
She is watching this stream.
Hello, Mrs. Goodwill. How are you doing? Hello.
Oh, behave. She loves you.
Well, welcome to the stream, Mrs. Goodwill.
And so is my father, so behave yourself. Behave yourself. My father is watching.
I wouldn't know what to do with a woman. If your dad's watching. Hey.
So anyway, this message from
okay, moving on.
So this message from Matalan Soon, as we'll call him, basically said that he donated his last golem to Jean-Luc so he could live, and he always wanted to outlive, himself. But he's created this hybrid Soon that's synthetic, that ages, that has B4 lore and a whole lot of data in it.
And Lal.
Yeah. Great shout out for Data's daughter that was never bloody mentioned in season 1.
Yeah, it's this crazy thing, like, and it's such a shame, because that is such a beautiful episode. Like, I genuinely love that episode where we meet Lal, and then obviously tragic end, but But I just thought it was really good, because this was like sort of good fan service, I think, to mention all of them. And then, like, even if we're not going to see more of lore later on, maybe it's the fact of, like, we do get a little aside here, and you just go, oh, there he is. There's lore.
That's the thing. Like, it's the speech that Sung's giving over this about evolution, and they intersperse it with shots of the Fleet Museum where you see the Enterprise A, which is the second Constitution, like a Constitution refit, and then the Titan, which is a Constitution 3. That was good. But then it's interspersed, with Geordi talking to Picard, basically saying, "You've put my family at risk," referring to Sydney, and I don't want to put my family in risk anymore. Like, if I help you, they will come after me, sort of thing. And this is a more resigned Geordi. This is a family man Geordi that is scared of losing, because let's be honest, Geordi for the longest part wanted a relationship, he wanted a family, and he never got it. So now he's got it. Because he was
a holographic creep, if we're perfectly honest. I mean,
Yes,
it's
yes.
this thing where it's like I love how they kind of predicted things before the internet.
Hey,
Like
Slicey Boy, by the
you
way,
in a
in the
weird
chat.
way. Hey, slicey boy, slicey boy. Yeah.
But yeah, go on. You
Welcome
were
to
saying
the chat, slicey boy. But yeah, that sorry, that's the theme now.
yeah,
But no, like it's weird that like Next Gen kind of predicted the internet before it really happened, with him effectively having this sort of like fantasy world or whatever, uh, and then obviously she gets to see it, which is a kind of heartbreaking episode where she's just like, "What
yeah,
the actual fuck?"
very creepy.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
was a shame actually. Yeah, so it's wonderful that Geordie finally like found someone and has had this family, and now he's incredibly protective of it. And it's this crazy thing of like this entire series is all about parenthood. It's all about family and stuff. It's like because Worf doesn't have one. I'm waiting for him to reference Jadzia, but it's this idea of hopefully that
I'm sure it's coming.
well, I think he'll probably mention it at some point, but I think it's this idea of, he's probably gotten over it a little bit, but I think he's still looking for a place. So hopefully he'll probably become like sort of like a father figure to Raffi or something.
So at the end of the soon message, and Picard walks out because Geordie won't help him, and he says to Seven, "We need to find Shaw. We need to strategize." Um, and Sydney goes in to speak with Geordie, her father. This was a great scene. And I really, really hope we do get a Titan spin off, because the characters that they have introduced, these new characters, Sydney LaForge, it's brilliant. And
Yeah.
she's like, you can tell there's a rift between father and daughter, because obviously Sydney is a pilot. Geordie wanted to become an engineer, and he's saying, I want you to stay with me and Lalandra and your mother. And she's like, no. And she's like, you taught me that my crew is my family. I am not going to leave them.
Yeah.
And she really starts tearing up about it. And she's like, I am not, I don't want to go. I don't want to stay. And then it just comes out where he says, you are staying. No matter what, you are staying. So she walks out. And you get this lovely little flirt between her and Jack, where you think, oh, something may be going on here, because her, Jack, and Alondra basically saying, right, Dad's not going to do anything. So what do we do? And he's like, are you into a bit of larceny at all? Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah.
So we then go back to Daystrom, where Raffi quite rightly says, and this is, you predicted this last week, Graeme. So Starfleet installed an insane AI to protect its most valuable assets, and they're like, yeah.
He is just like going, okay, that's a choice.
Yeah, it's some admiral. Has to be an admiral.
It has to be a fucking evil admiral, like
evil admiral. So, but then they say, yeah, so they installed an insane AI to guard the stuff, and then they realize that there is no manifest, because data is the manifest. So they need to pull data.
Talk about a waste of technology, to be fair. That's like literally buying a top-of-the-line PC and being like, oh, this is where I store my Excel files. It's, it just seems a bit like, I'm pretty sure when you have like the only functional positronic sort of android in the universe, well, synthetic android, like cyborg, I guess.
Yeah.
In this case, and they're like, let's store files on it. It's just like that is rich kid problems. That is. I remember at uni I always got hand-me-downs from another student, because they were like, it was really crazy, because they were a bit sort of, this sounds horrible, but they were like slightly sort of backwards. Like, they weren't like, when they're not the brightest tool in the box, but they came from wealth. And therefore they always had like insane high quality stuff, where he was literally learning to code and had the highest end MacBook I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Like, it was ludicrous. Like, we're talking about, at the time, it was about a $7,000 like MacBook that he had to do insane. Like HTML and stuff, and I'm like, you can do that in Notepad. You don't need a powerful. And it was this thing. And then after a while, he'd be like, oh, it's there's a better one on the market. So basically, I'll just get rid of this one, and my parents will get me this one. And it was this whole thing, and he was terrible at code. He's not going to be watching this, but I kept trying to help him, and I was like, I don't think a dyslexic person is built for code, like.
Well, that's the thing.
Like syntax is so important and whatnot, but it was like I always just remember him just literally having this really ludicrous top of the line thing, and then I think he played Team Fortress on it and used like Dreamweaver, and you're like, that's it.
But you've hit the nail on the head there that Starfleet doesn't really, like Starfleet core engineers or whoever, doesn't understand the complexities of a Sun-type android to the point where they could just literally use them as data storage.
Yeah, that's it. He's like
so
literally just
sense.
like, oh, well, SSDs are pretty expensive. Can we just put it on a Sony Android?
Well, they realise that they need to pull him out.
Probably a media player as well. They probably connect the TV up to it and be like,
Well, he's got everything.
He's got the movies on data.
Yeah. And then they realise that they have to pull him out because the Starfleet officers are closing in on them, so they need to pull him out. We then go back to the Titan, and we get a really, really hilarious scene where, again, this further increases my love of Captain Shaw. Geeking the fuck out about Geordie LaForge being on his ship, and he's like, it's an honor. It's an absolute honor. And LaForge. Now I've had this right. I have had this as a restorer of banged out old Fords from 25 years ago. I have had this where someone looks at your car and you go, "Thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor." And LaForge just goes, "Captain, your hull is paper thin. You're spewing fumes, you're leaking, and the hull is held together by 21st century duct tape." And you can just see the life leave Captain Shaw as this person that he's idolized for years has just took a massive shit on his starship. And I have been there, Graeme.
Yeah.
I have been there because I have had people come up to me at car shows and I'm like,
see you later, Slicey Boy. Have a great night.
Oh, see you later, Slicey Boy. Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
I've seen people come up to me and I'm like, ha ha, and they're just like, it's shit. And I'm like, oh. But the way that Todd Stashwick acts it's so beautiful. But the comeback that he goes where you can see the life leading, he goes, yeah, it's been a weird week.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I don't think he was that disappointed. I don't think he was that sort of like, put down. I think he was just like, yeah, probably a bad time to geek out, really, but I do like the idea, though, that like they've taken Geordie in this different direction where Geordie has become like the long-suffering one. You know how you usually get it? Like, I'm trying to think of comparisons, but I'm trying to think of
Uncle Phil.
I suppose it wasn't Uncle Phil. Just he became Shredder. He became a villain. But no. What was it? I'm thinking of Stephen King's It. Where you've got like is it Michael who's the guy who stays behind? I can't remember. Sorry, anyone in the chat who's a big fan of Stephen King's It. But basically, the guy who stays behind to kind of look after the town and basically warn everyone if, like, it comes back and whatnot, he kind of becomes a bit sort of like, I don't know, he's like the responsible one after everything's done. And it's that kind of thing. And Geordie seems to be the one where he's like not going off doing adventures. He's the one going, I'm keeping the history alive at this fleet museum. I'm the one shouting at Starfleet about stuff. Like, I'm like being a family man and trying to protect my family and stuff. And then you got Riker being like, adventure. And you've got like Picard being like, go back in time, and you've got like Worf being like, I'm the worst pacifist imaginable.
It's Spectrum Sanctorum.
Mike
two
Hanlon,
things.
There we go.
Yeah, Michael and Spectrum have said, was the data collected cookies enabled?
Can you imagine? Like they refused an essential cookies or something.
Well, and let's be honest.
Now, when they're watching videos off data, it's coming up with unrelated adverts because they refuse the cookies.
Let's be honest. Even in the 25th century, with the most advanced positronic net, even when data runs Google Chrome, he will still not have enough RAM.
Yeah, we've left it open too long, and now it's eaten up the entire galaxy's RAM.
Yeah. So Shaw says, yeah, it's been
Hold on.
really
If
weak.
Data has another child, would it be called Cookie? What if he has twins? So obviously Lal didn't work out. But then if Data has kids, are they going to be cookies?
Oh God.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. That's going to be like the sort of lower decks.
Oh God.
Like, sort of.
Oh yeah, lower decks will do something
Spin-off.
like that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But then one of the cookies isn't enabled.
So after that, suddenly the Titan starts phasing, and it starts cloaking.
Well, and Seven's like, we're getting a lot of EM radiation. That's concerning,
And suddenly the Titan cloaks, and Geordi again gets pissed. And Geordi's like, "You've stolen the clocking device from my bird of prey." And I'm like, "Oh damn, this angry. I don't like this angry Geordi. I don't. I mean, I've dealt with angry Geordies. Let's be honest. We all deal with angry Geordies. I don't want to deal with this angry Geordi." Because he was pissed, and John Luke's face is I had nothing to do with it. I promise you.
For once, he's not responsible for the madness.
And I love how they both realize, and it's like, Jack, Sydney.
I think that was my favorite moment of the whole thing. My favorite bit of the whole thing was that where he's like, Jack and Sydney, and they're basically sort of like, oh no, it's our kids, And
the kids are trying to fix the cloaking device, and Jack is trying to fix it, and Geordi just comes out, and I love this little quip because he sees the spark between Sydney and Jack.
Yeah.
And he does the most dad thing possible. He's just going, "You stay away from my daughter." Geordi knows. Don't piss off Geordi, guys. Seriously, don't piss off Geordi. He's got like 50 million ships, and he will find you.
Yeah, he has access to like the Defiant. Hey, it's so much of a warship it barely functions in any other capacity.
It tears itself apart due to how fast it is.
We put too many guns on it when the Shrike was still sucking at its mother's teat.
So they finally fix the cloak, and they make communication with Worf, Raffi, and Riker and Data, and they say, "We're on our way." Right? Yeah, sorry. No, we're on our way. Bearing in mind, we're going to be cloaked, so we'll have to decloak. And Riker's like, "Cloaked?" And Worf is like, "Cloak with what?" And he's like, Worf just goes, "Obviously with superior Klingon tech." I'm like, "Oh, Klingon burn." I am here for these burns from Worf this season. He is just on fire.
But I like the fact that like Riker is getting annoyed because like Worf is not being like he's not biting. So like sort of Riker's constantly baiting him, and Worf's just like, "Nope, I will not rise to any of this."
But when he does, the burns are good.
Yeah.
And I like that. And I love it because that just goes back to First Contact when they pick up Worf from the Defiant, and he's like, "Tough little ship," and Worf just goes, "Little."
Yeah.
So the Titan warps back into the Daystrom station. It cloaks. There is a massive firefight because Riker just goes full commando here. He's just like, "You get everything sorted. I'll deal with the entire goddamn squadron of Starfleet officers coming to find them." And I'm like, God damn it.
As one does.
Riker has gone full Riker maneuver on this. He's got his leg over everything in this scene.
Oh my.
That's just going to be the theme for our entire series now. Oh my. So Riker fights Starfleet. Worf and Raffi finally disconnect Data, shall we call him? Yeah. Riker gets tagged, and he gets captured.
What does tagged? What does it mean? Because he just gets like a blow dart at him, and I'm like,
it's a transport inhibitor.
Is it? Have we ever seen them before? I don't think I've seen that.
Yes,
before.
That's a callback to Star Trek Insurrection.
Oh, right. Okay.
Where they use a different type of inhibitor. It's not an inhibitor; it's an enhancer to tag each individual colonist to beam them up to relocate them. So this is like the anti-transport thing. So the Titan can only find 3 signatures. So Shaw's just beam out whoever we've got. Beam out and the warp out. And Worf just basically says, Riker sacrificed himself to save the rest of us. And he said, I will get him back.
Yeah.
I will. He goes full Liam Neeson. He's just like, "I will find you and I will pacifistly kill you by beheading you."
I just love claiming that you're a pacifist after beheading someone. I'm just like, yeah, cool, fine.
R.I.P. Sneed, up there with the Angles and Princess Di. So,
yeah. Poor Sneed up there
with the Angles.
With Princess Di.
But then we get a nice little touching scene after Worf leaves the observation lounge between Picard and Jack. And I like this because this is Jack more or less accepting Picard as his father.
Yeah.
Where he's saying, because he goes off on this little thing and he's like, I've got these touching, I've got these traits of compassion and sympathy and loyalty. And there's all of this I got from my mother. I'm like, oh, nice little burn. And then he goes on about how his bravery and, loyalty, he
hairline
soon. Hairline, he will get an irremotic syndrome, thanks Dad, that he will he got from Picard. And I like that scene. And then we go to the science lab, shall we say, where they're trying to reactivate the android. And they don't know if it's going to work.
And they do so by plugging it in, which I thought was quite good.
Did this in Nemesis. They did this in Nemesis. You have to find the right Thunderbolt port.
See, I like the idea. They're like, oh, the Dayston people, they didn't know how to use this. And Jodie's just like, done?
USB-C.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah, it's a C. It's not USB 3 or male, it's C. But again, this was a really touching scene where they activate him and he takes time to awaken, and then you hear lovely touching thing where Data just looks at him and just goes, Geordie.
Yeah,
because we know the Geordie
so
and Data were best friends. We know.
But this is the amazing thing that they were like. It's that wonderful thing in Star Trek where you get like these wonderful buddy things, and it's maybe a bit like cliche that they write them in, but in TNG you had like Data and Geordie as like best buddies. In DS9 you had Bashir and the god himself,
the greatest Starfleet officer that ever existed, Chief Miles O'Brien.
He can kill 50 Dominion. No, he can kill like 50 Cardassians just by staring at them
and put up
just
with
by being Irish enough.
He put up with Keiko. He was,
he managed to control the mighty beast that is Keiko.
God damn it, Keiko!
The ultimate Star Trek villain.
He will find you.
No, I'm putting money that Keiko is the villain of the season. Can you imagine if they get the actress back? They get like, is it Rosalind Chow? And they'd be like, okay, so we're gonna get you back, but as the main villain of Picard season 3. And I'm going to find. I'm happy with that.
I am going to find the actress who played Keiko O'Brien. I am going to invite her onto this podcast, and I want to say, I want to talk about your life and times on DS9. I'm not going to say anything.
What?
And then I'm going to go, so the greatest villain in Star Trek history, go. And she's going to be like, what? I'm like, just interrogate her.
I haven't actually properly looked for stuff. Like, I'd be interested to see if there's anything like at conventions, if she's basically got it mentioned. Because you wonder if when she had the script, she was like, she's being a bit unreasonable here. Like, or if it's something where she never noticed, or if it's stuff that only men notice, like in that weird way of just, we're reading the scripts being like, she's kind of unrealistic. Like, she's kind of like, well, no, it's not unrealistic. It's just the idea of just going, it's a very weird portrayal of marriage, but a common one. I think that was the point, maybe, or maybe the writers were kind of putting their own thing into it. But effectively, the fact that O'Brien gets happier when his wife isn't on the same planet, you're like, okay,
he's happier when he's drunk, which I think is a bit of an Irish stereotype. So I was like, okay, but so going back to Data, we see this, and he calls Jean-Luc Captain. Because let's not forget,
I'm disappointed that so many people are calling Picard Jean-Luc, because I still think everyone would still instinctively call him Captain.
And I love the idea that Data does that. Riker did in one scene in the first episode.
Yeah, but I think Worf referred to him as like Jean-Luc or something. Jean-Luc, it was a bit like, and then obviously, he got called like Mr. Worf, which makes sense.
Oh no, he called him Admiral. He called him Admiral.
Did he?
Yes, he did in that little message, didn't he? When the showed Roland's earring.
Yeah.
But Data calling Jean-Luc Captain is obviously telling, because Data copied himself, shall we say, in Nemesis when obviously Picard was still a captain. So
before he went evil.
So it makes sense that the data we are seeing here is the data from 20 years ago, before Shinzon, before everything like that. We then get a little bit of interspace between B4 and Law. So we do see a bit of Law, a little bit of a...
I loved the little nod to Law and just how good he is, like just how terrifying he can be.
But then they ask Data what was stolen from Daystrom, and he just keeps saying Jean-Luc Picard, Jean-Luc Picard, and I think he's glitching out. And then he does projection eyes.
Yeah, odd, odd choice.
Odd, very odd. But we see...
So he's basically, he's gone from being like a one-of-a-kind android and one of the most, in season 1, literally the most important thing in the entire universe. And now he's a multimedia center. Now he's like, you put him in the corner of your man cave and you play your movies off him. And I'm a bit like, okay, that's a bit of a step down really for Data,
He's an eye Data.
But he's like do you reckon he's like an Alexa? It's like
oh wow.
Yeah. Data, play Faith of the Heart.
Could Alexa
now playing Faith of the Heart?
Could Alexa be a proto-Soon type?
Yeah. That's it. That's the that's the AI.
That's the singularity, guys. That is Alexa is the singularity that we are all going towards. But yeah, so
I love that if anyone was listening to this and they have an Alexa and it started playing Faith of the Heart, I regret nothing.
If anyone's seen my post in the Facebook community, I regret nothing about Faith of the Heart. I will die on that hill.
Alexa, play Faith of the Heart. There we go.
Well, you can reach any star. So he starts projecting an image and they try and clear it up. And what we see is when he's saying Jean-Luc Picard, Vadic has literally stolen Jean-Luc Picard's remains.
Yeah, which probably shouldn't have been in a science station. They should have been in a graveyard, or maybe he held on to them. I don't quite know the etiquette for when it's your own body and you're still alive and functional.
Yeah, I generally don't know, but it is kind of terrifying that this, that Section 31 has essentially just exhumed every goddamn grave of a notable person and just put them on ice.
Yeah.
At this station. I'm really interested though to find out why they've stolen his remains.
Well, the thing is, okay, here's the thing. So we have changelings that have got the body of Jean-Luc Picard and they're obsessed with his biological son.
Oh, damn.
So you're a bit like
implants.
Oh, maybe actually, yeah.
Oh, damn. Could it be?
Yeah, maybe they were just like, oh, let's have these lovely Borg implants.
Could they have captured? Could they, for some reason, have captured Jack or got hold of Jack, used some of his DNA, knowing that he was Jean-Luc's son, assuming that he's got a bit of Borg DNA within him, to try and genetically enhance their own DNA to replicate better and to make themselves evolve? Realize that it wasn't enough, and then they need to go to the source, which would be Locutus himself, because
it's odd though, because there's got to be so many better instances of Borg than having to go to Locutus. Like, it's an odd one.
I don't know. Locutus was very unique though.
As in, he lasted about a week.
He lasted about a week, but I think
which is pretty short for Borg, because usually it's like, they don't really ever get changed back.
But he was more significant. But again, they should be going after 7 of 9 as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if the Borg connection is something, but I wonder if maybe, like, when was it stolen though? Like, are we talking that it was stolen like a week ago, or
a couple of months ago? They said.
Yeah, that's it. Because I'm wondering if maybe it could be crazy stuff. Oh no, it can't be. I was wondering if maybe they could have like cloned Jack using it, but then obviously he's been around for like years. And obviously, and obviously we could make a big conspiracy about it, but then Jack was in the past. He existed obviously.
Plus, he's got Irumodic syndrome. So could they clone a disease?
I assume so. I think, isn't it? I think if you clone someone, they'll have the same genetic faults, wouldn't they?
Potentially, yeah. It's very interesting, but I mean,
but I think the thing is, we'll find out. So there's obviously a reason, but it is fun to speculate.
But then we go to the final scene of the episode where Riker is on the Shrike because Vadic has captured him. The Starfleet officers were Vadic and the Changeling Brethren that she kills, which is weird.
But this is the weird thing, because basically we see sort of Riker like sort of captive and being like sort of what do you call it? Questioned?
Interrogated,
that's the word. Yeah, interrogated by like Starfleet officers, and obviously they're punching him in the face and stuff like that and beating him up. But then like the main officer reveals themselves to be Vadic and then shoots the other ones. Like, and it's this idea of like, were they crewmates or were they just like other changelings from other ships? Kind of thing.
Oh yeah, there could have been just Starfleet officers, obviously, because changelings are planted on ships. So yeah, there could have been officers just following orders, and she's
and so they might not have been changelings at all, So it's like,
but she takes him onto the Shrike, where he just refuses to talk. He gets the absolute height beaten out of him, and he looks at the tall change. He's just like, how much of that goo shit did they have to pour into you? I love that.
Yeah,
he's just like, because he's looking at this big bastard. He's like, whoa, you're full of goo.
And I love that the big bastard, like considering it just came out today, the remake of Resident Evil 4, and then these guys reminded me of the villain in the monster in Resident Evil 4, where it's basically the right hand and left hand man of Salazar, and they're just these massive beetle guys, and you have to fight one of them. I don't know, like Vadic's crew kind of remind me of them a little bit, like evil insecty people.
No Money G has said that Terry and his team have said that everything that is mentioned in the show this season is said for a reason. It is all hyperlinked and answered by the season's end. I am loving it. Yes, absolutely. We know this. I mean, like I said earlier on, the end credits tease everything throughout the season.
But that's it. I did not realize that it had "Pop Goes the Weasel" in the fucking end credits. And I'm just like, you bastard! It was in plain sight all this time.
It has the Fleet Museum. It has the Fleet Museum with the ships. It has Picard 47 Alpha Tango. It has Shaw's Psyche Eval. It has the USS Constance in there. It has everything, which is brilliantly done. But with Riker, he's like, I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to talk. There's nothing you can do to make me talk. Who have they captured?
Oh, it's someone who can't do the voice anymore.
Or is it Deanna Troi?
It is Deanna Troi. Hey, Paul Spencer. Welcome to the episode. Paul says, I have not stopped grinning and whooping throughout the entire episode. Yep, there we go.
Same here.
It was a very, very wonderful fan episode. But that's it. But obviously we've got Troi and she's been captured, damn it. She's not doing much to shake off this oh yeah, it might be a changeling. Oh my god, what if she's a changeling? Oh, I don't know.
It's a cunning subterfuge.
Subterfuge.
It's a subterfuge.
Well, what we'll know is we'll know it's not Troi if it can do the voice properly. Because a changeling would be able to do it properly.
That's a Marina Sirtis turn right there.
If it's actually Marina Sirtis, you'd be like, I'll do it for 2 lines and then just give up. Right, cool.
But on a whole,
we're just going to skirt over me just saying that. Okay.
But on a whole, again, and I've said this every goddamn week, this was an amazing episode. And the trajectory that this season is on is uphill all the way. Some argued that it was fan service. I argued that it was justifiable fan service and it was there for a reason. And I can't wait for next Thursday.
Yeah.
Or Friday in the UK. I was blown away by it. I think it was a very touching episode. It was a very family orientated episode. A huge amount of love was clearly poured into this when it came from like the Fleet Museum, Data, Moriarty, the tiny little Easter eggs you see throughout. I absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Now, this is the thing. This is where I'm gonna lose friends. Okay, I'm gonna lose friends because I've had three separate people message me talking about how much they love this episode and stuff. I'm gonna say this is my least favorite episode of the whole season so far. I'm gonna say it, but it's simply because the series has been so high up, and this is the episode that did feel a bit thrown together in a way. Like, it has amazing scenes in it, like, has these amazing touching things, but all of the stuff that I've loved about the season, like, are where it doesn't just jump to stuff. It doesn't have stuff in just for the, like, sake of it. Like for instance, the episode where they're going into the black hole, where they fix it using science and they fix it using their minds. This episode has stuff where it just happens in order for the next thing to happen. Like, for instance, like Riker, when he does the whole gung-ho thing of like, don't worry, I'll protect you by running out on my own and shooting people. And you're like, the door would have held. You didn't need to do that. You could have been, and for the sake of that, he could have just stayed in. And therefore, it does have narrative elements where it's like, oh, you did that in order for the plot to continue. And it just felt like a bit of a step back in a lot of places, and stuff like the Sydney and Jack like spark thing has come out of nowhere, and it gets developed a little bit too quickly. Like, it hasn't been hinted at all. They haven't even had a scene together, that where they've spoken to it.
I don't think they have, no.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm like, oh, and it's just instant. Okay. It had a lot of stuff. And then obviously Moriarty. I love Moriarty. I thought he was absolutely amazing.
Underused.
He feels like fan service. He feels like, oh, that's him. Because it wasn't Moriarty. And you're just going, well, why did Data create Moriarty? Like, and it's just there because fan service. Like, he could have done himself. He could have done, like, that could have been a laser cannon or something, or like, it's that weird thing, or it could have been Data, and they're like, oh, it's Data, he's lost his mind. Oh, how could we stop him? Oh, pop goes the weasel. It felt weird. It felt like, oh, we've got Moriarty in for fan service, and it's a shame because the rest of the series has been so good at going, hey, everything's here for a reason. We're not just chucking it in there for you, and it all connects to everything. But it's like, if they don't do anything more with Moriarty, I'm going to be a bit like, oh, that was just fan service, was it? Oh, right, if you're not going to do anything more with Kirk's body, oh, is that just fan service? Oh, if you're not going to... And also, and like, fucking, she's not an engineer. Jack's not an engineer, technically. How do they put a cloaking device into the ship in about 10 minutes? Like, in order to get it functional, like when in DS9, you needed a Romulan there specially to go, this is how you use it, and obviously monitor. And also, they had the Defiant with them. And you're like, so here's a cloaking device that's made to fit into a Starfleet ship. Why didn't you nick that one? Like, rather than the one that would have to be retrofitted,
I wonder.
And then was done by non-engineers, It just, all of it just felt a little bit like, we have loads of stuff that needs to happen. Let's make it happen as quickly as possible. And it was lovely getting fan service, but it did feel like the hand was off the wheel a little bit compared to the genius that we've had in the previous episodes.
So here's my thing. So first and foremost, overall, I needed more Captain Shaw.
That's it. Yeah. And there wasn't enough Captain Shaw.
He was very underused in this episode. He is the captain of the goddamn Titan. He needs to be used.
He got great scenes, though. Like we're saying, the fanboy
brilliant
thing,
scenes.
Like, that was brilliant,
But he needed to be there a little bit more for my taste. Secondly, I felt going to Atham Prime and then finding out at Atham Prime that all these starships are networked, the logical course of action would not be to have a cloaking device on this ship if it is tracked. Yes, you can cloak, but you still have to decloak to beam, blah, 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 blah. Which, by the way, the Bounty in the Voyage Home, they beamed people on board when it was cloaked.
That's what Toy Blue Harvest said on the chat.
Oh, has earlier. It? Oh, yeah.
They said, like, hang on, you could teleport. You could transport people while it was cloaked in the film.
Yeah, of course. My rationale for this, right? Once you've been told that all these ships are networked, they will find you, they will trace you. It'll be like, right, we have got an entire parade of ships. You have got the Defiant. If the Bounty has got a cloaking device on it, the Defiant will still have its cloaking device on it.
Yeah.
Why not, if you need to go there untracked, get the Defiant, cloak, pick them up, do a runner in the Defiant to bring them back?
Probably give them a bloody nose because it's the bloody Defiant,
Exactly. It would have been logical fan service to say, to go through all these ships and say, right, we can't use the Titan to go here because we're tracked and it'll bring the entire fleet to us. Let's use the Defiant. Let's use a non-network ship.
I feel it may have been that they didn't pick the Defiant because maybe Jack didn't know it had a cloaking device, because it's the idea of maybe it's still secret. Like maybe even after the Dominion War, it's like, hey, that was a total abuse of the treaty. And the Romulans probably didn't tell any of the other races, hey, by the way, Starfleet have totally gone back on the, and we're allowing them to. However, it could be that the Romulans took the cloaking device back at the end of the war. They were like, hang on. They got the cloaking device back and they're like, oh, why are you taking it back off us? Oh, does this mean anything? It's a fake, Thanks for bringing us into that conflict.
Instead of taking the Titan, take the Bounty.
Take a disposable one and be like, let's rescue people in this one.
I generally thought that's where they were going with this. When they were doing the idea, I generally thought they'd go, we'll take one of these ships. Initially, I thought, it's a bit too much fan service. But then when they mentioned the network thing, I was like, well, no, that would make sense. And again, going back to Battlestar Galactica, the whole reason the Galactica survived was because it was not networked, so it was not vulnerable to being found to being infected, being disabled, so they used it. So with this, it's sort of like, well, if you've got all these ships, take the Defiant, it's the most modern one, take it, cloak, beam, get the hell out of here, get back to Earth and Prime, then do a runner in the Titan.
Yeah.
And I just, that was my only thing. But I do agree with what you said about Jack and Sydney.
Yeah.
And I do agree about Moriarty. If he is not used anymore, then that was a little bit too much fan service when it comes to
it's
the
this
next generation.
Weird thing where it's I think the annoyance is that it wasn't Moriarty. Like it was Data projecting Moriarty, and it's like, I want to know what happens to Moriarty, because because the fact is he's not a bad guy. The bizarre thing, like he's not actually a villain in Next Generation as far as I see it.
Shout out to Nita in the chat. Hello guys from Brooklyn, New York. Hello.
Wow. Nita. Hi Nita.
Brooklyn. That is Nita from Spectrum Sanctorum.
Is it? Hey Nita.
They have just done their review of season 5. Why am I thinking there's more than
recording it? Oh no,
they recorded it. They recorded it last night. They recorded their review of StarTrek Picard last night.
Oh, they're really speedy, aren't they?
There will be a there will be a shout out.
I'm gonna make that really sexy. They're really speedy, aren't they?
Rapido. They will.
Wow, that's a reference and a half.
Thank you. Right. I will give them a shout out later on. But if you just joined us, we're sort of geeking out about little plot holes here.
That's it. I mean, it's the sort of thing where, like, I just as a recap, like, I am basically being devil's advocate, where I thought that this episode was not amazing. I thought it was really good. It didn't give me the goosebumps personally of the things, because I felt it was
the goosebumps.
It did give you all the goosebumps. It gave you full R.L. Steins. That did, but
Starship porn.
I think that's the thing. I think maybe because I'm a massive fan about the plot and the characters and stuff, but I'm not really that invested in the ships and the technology and the things. So therefore I was just like, yay, cool, it's great to see Voyager. Oh, it's great to see the Defiant still around and and all of these things and whatnot. But it wasn't like, and that's enough for me. It was like, hey, we need more talking scenes. And this one did seem to be a bit like it did seem to be a bit like, fan service in place of the amazing dialogue that we've had in the last 2 episodes. Like, but I still enjoyed it, and it's great getting Geordie in there. it's a shame that Moriarty does seem to be just fan service rather than actually having a wider part of it that I was hoping for.
I do,
but it's great to see George. It's great to see Data again. Like it's one of these things where like you don't when you have something where like no, that's fine. You can totally just retcon that. Like you can just totally do that. I just want this back. Like I'm totally fine with them being Picard, you're not a fucking android anymore. There you go. Or like. Or oh yeah, Data didn't really die. Actually, it's he's back again. Like I'm fine with that. Like if they just turned around and it's like with Star Wars, where if they like actually me and Joe were talking about this on Instagram, but it's the idea of if they just went, you know what, the sequel trilogy didn't happen. Okay, here's episode like, if they just went like, oh, okay, here's episode 7, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's fine. I would not mind that.
But overall, though, another solid episode from Terry Matalas and the crew.
For all I complain about this one, it's leagues ahead of seasons 1 and 2. Like it's that whole thing of like it feels like a continuation of a plot, and because the actors are so good, they're carrying it so well. It's this idea of like just Seven being amazing. Sure, like he wasn't in it much, but then we're still talking about how good his little fanboy scene was and stuff. And like, and Geordie, like just Lamar Burton, man, he's so good.
He's scary when he's angry, and I think it's the ocular implants that
it's because he's become a Dom top daddy now. He's gone full on DILF.
Yeah. Does that mean Worf's a kilf?
Kilf?
Klingon I'd like to.
I don't think you get to fuck the Klingon. I think it's more of a sort of one-way street. Well,
he's a pacifist, so you never know.
Technically a two-way street, I suppose. But
someone's getting beheaded. I know that. So
worst pacifist ever.
So yeah, I think going. Solid episode. I think for the future, I do think
what Nita's saying is, did you think Beverly's explanation on Jack's vision is all it's cracked up to be, or do you guys think there's more to it? I think there is. I think basically the whole thing is there's something seriously. I think Goodwill was saying in the last episode that he's thinking there's something to do with the Borg. And that's what's happening to Jack. And I think that's true, but I think what they needed to have, hey, Jack, you're not cracking up. There's totally a reason for this. And it's not. And it's Beverly just being a shit doctor again. But it's her just being like, oh, well, it's just these crazy visions again. And it isn't. It is. It's some kind of Borg thing. It's some kind of, or at least changeling thing. But I definitely think there's more to it there. But obviously Beverly's just like, oh, it's not cancer. Just take some paracetamol and, oh, you're dead. Oh, well, never mind.
But overall,
Hager's a villain, Beverly's a crap doctor. There we go. Hot take Friday.
Overall, great episode. I do think we'll see more of Ethan Prime. I do think we'll see more of the museum.
Who sounds like a porn star. Ethan Prime. I'm pretty sure I've seen a porn star called Ethan Prime.
Or a top tier subscription service. I'm still convinced, and Doug Drexler is dropping hints left, right, and centre. He dropped a hint a few weeks ago about the NX refit. And the NX refit was seen. I still think we're going to see the saucer section of the Enterprise.
We definitely are, because a mate of mine.
It is in the Fleet Museum.
Yeah, well, a mate of mine sent me a picture that, like, apparently Lamar Burton posted on Twitter, where it was like a picture of him saying, "Get ready for like season 3 of Picard," and it's literally him, as we saw him today, but in the background is basically the set of the Enterprise D, and I don't know if it was a Photoshop or something. But it was this idea of, and then he said it got deleted within like a minute or something. But basically, and it's one of those ones of just being like, okay, so I don't know if they rebuilt it for press shots or something, or if it is actually going to appear, because it looked like a posed press shot. It didn't look like, like a screen grab from a scene or whatever. But I do like the idea of him being like, oh shit, okay, can't post that,
So I am looking forward to next week's episode. I'm really glad that we're not getting that much information on these episodes as well.
Yeah.
Before they come out, I think it's like a 2-sentence synopsis for every episode, which is brilliant. Doesn't give away the farm. The screenshots that are released by CBS does not give away the farm as well, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And I am every episode, I'm left either surprised, shocked, satisfied over the some of the things that they do. So I'm looking forward to next week. A fantastic episode this week. Nita says, yes, I agree. That doesn't explain how Jack went all Jason Bourne on the Changeling. Like I said, I think there's a smidgen of Borg DNA within Jack. And he does go full Jason Bourne. So he's either a sleeper agent for Sec 31, or there is some Borg changeling DNA within him that senses changelings, because that's the only way I could justify that. But
okay, I'm gonna make hot take, because I'm doing a lot of hot takes today, because obviously Keiko is the greatest. Keiko is the greatest Star Trek villain. Putting it over. Oh god. No, but I'm gonna have so many people hate me. Rosalind Chang's gonna come around to my house and punch me.
Only after the podcast.
After the podcast, she can do it now, to be fair, but I'm thinking, you know what? Wouldn't it be amazing? I don't think it's gonna happen, but wouldn't it be amazing if they brought species 8472 into it somehow?
You mentioned this last week, and
I know, but imagine if they were like, oh, while we're doing fan service to the wider, the wider lore, if they went like, oh, actually, and therefore, because that would it be interesting, because the whole thing with them is that they were hyper evolved, and that's how they, and they evolved really quickly, and then we're getting changelings now that are hyper evolved. So you're wondering if maybe there's some kind of like,
oh damn,
this thing, like you wonder if maybe this thing, and then wouldn't it be amazing if we're doing this thing where we're going, hey, here's the end of Roll Aaron, and that's the conclusion there. Here's kind of the conclusion to Moriarty, maybe. But then imagine if they were like, oh yeah, that conclusion that we never really sort of tidied up about the Borg and their war with species 8472. Oh, it's here,
Oh my god, yeah, because there were Herosian in the Alpha Quadrant, because it was referenced in one of the episodes.
So they did say, look,
how did they get
20
there?
years later or whatever, so there's no reason why, and also like we don't really know, because they're from a different universe, aren't they? It's not the mirror universe, but they're in
a different dimension.
Yeah, that's it. So you're just going, so they could exist in any quadrant, technically.
They're in fluidic space, which
fluidic space. That sounds like the worst chat-up line in the entire world. Like that's like one of those bad, dodgy. Yeah, I'm gonna take you to fluidic space.
Oh, the napkin. So yeah, overall, guys, to wrap this up, I think safe to say we are both still loving Star Trek Picard season 3.
It is amazing.
4 more episodes left, though. So if you see the change.org posts that I've been putting on Twitter constantly and on the Facebook group constantly, please sign it, because we are well over 10,000 signatures on that.
Say what it's about. Say what it's about.
The change.org signature is basically going to be addressed to Paramount to say, hey, we want Terry Metalis to have the keys to the car. We want more adventures in the 25th century with Todd Stashwick and Jerry Ryan as 7 of 9. Yeah. We want more of this. We want a Titan spin-off. Terry Metalis has actually come up, because this was mentioned on The View yesterday when LeVar Burton was on. And it is gaining traction. And Terry Metalis has said, if there is a spin-off, he's got a name for it, and he knows what it wants to be about. It's going to be called Star Trek Legacy. Yeah. And it's going to be about the legacy of the old generation and the next. So it'll be interspersed with classic characters and the new characters, which we are getting in Picard with the Titan crew and the new captain and Sidney Forge and stuff. So the markings are there. This could be an excellent backdoor pilot for a new Star Trek spin-off, and they would be mad not to.
Well, I think it'd be brilliant. Like, it's just, this is all I want. Like, all I wanted is like, because I remember like when I first got back into Trek, because obviously I watched it as a kid. It was always like, literally I'd come home from school and it was and it was the double bill of The Simpsons and then Next Generation. DS9 I never got to watch because it was only on Sky. I don't think it had any UK terrestrial version.
It was on BBC Two.
Was it?
It started a few years after it aired, so I think it was 95, 96 it aired.
I never remember seeing it. But then again, Buffy, like I think what happened is Buffy came out on like sort of Sky One or something, which we didn't have. And then like 4 years later, it started on BBC Two or something. And you were a bit like, oh, well, everyone's talking about season 6 now. And I'm just like, oh, starting like season 2. It was like
we were very hard done by in the UK, guys. For people watching in America, when it came to Star Trek,
the good stuff.
Yeah, the Next Generation didn't start until 3 years after, in 1990. DS9 was 2 to 3 years after, and Voyager was 1996, 1997. We were very, very hard done by.
But the thing that I had was basically like, and then so I kind of missed DS9 entirely until like about sort of 5 years ago, and then just went like, pretty much just pre-pandemic, and then it got me through the pandemic because I watched it like twice over the course. I watched the all 7 seasons twice over the course of the pandemic, and it got me through. But the thing is, I watched Voyager, and then I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. And obviously, because we saw it like years later, we were like, oh, there's nothing coming next. And then you just had this 10-year period of just being like, so are we never gonna like have another series where it kind of goes, hey, this is what the universe is like after the Dominion War. This is what well, I didn't know about that, but like after the whole when Voyager gets back and all the stuff that we see in Voyager about
the repercussions and like the fallout.
And like stuff like, oh, the Romulan Empire failing, like what, all this stuff, and then just be like, oh, we're never gonna ever look into that. And then obviously then they go, here's a reboot film with loads of lens flares, and then here's Discovery, which isn't gonna do any of the stuff you want it to do. And it was a bit like, please don't do this, like please continue it. I'm just so fucking glad that they are. So they just have to keep going with it and be like, yeah, here's fucking Cardassia, here's the state of the Cardassian Union right now, like in this time period.
I think Paramount has a good track record of listening to Star Trek fans. When you look at Strange New Worlds and what fans wanted, and they actually listened and they said,
Paul Spencer's Backdoor Pilot is a show I'd watch. Oh my.
No Money G says new Trek actually made by real Trek nerds who actually know Star Trek canon. Go figure. Yes, it was. I do agree with that.
This is what I was saying. Sorry, I'm talking way too much, Goodwill. Sorry, but I'm very passionate about it. But this is what I was complaining about. Like, whenever you criticize Discovery, everyone's like, "Oh, you're just like a neckbeard, and you hate you hate wokeness or whatever." And I'm like, no, I just want things to be well written. I want a show that's Trek that feels like Trek, rather than just being like, oh, it's Star Trek because it's set in space and there's a Vulcan. There you go.
Let's
and here's Klingons,
forget.
but they don't act like Klingons, and they don't. Yeah, and it's that weird thing of just being like, no, and I really tried with it, but it was this thing of just being like, I don't enjoy this.
Let's not forget, and I have made this speech before, and I have said it on Twitter. We thank Star Trek Discovery not only for being there and bringing in a whole new era of Star Trek shows, ushering in we're nearly at the new golden age of Star Trek. Let's be honest. I will always be grateful for Discovery. I will always be grateful for any new Star Trek, because any new Star Trek is always welcome, because we could have none. My biggest issue is the writing. That is it. It's not the actors. It's not the acting. It's the writing. That's all the issue I have. I have got no ill will towards anyone who works.
You only have goodwill, don't you?
I have goodwill. I am goodwill embodied in
good body in name and nature. There we go.
It just the writing was not there. And what we are seeing very slowly from when Discovery started, we had the first 2 seasons of Star Trek Picard. We've had Star Trek Lower Decks. Again, Mike McCannon, huge Star Trek fan. We have had Star Trek Prodigy. Again, the showrunner, huge Star Trek fan. We've had Strange New Worlds, Akiva Goldsman. Again, huge Star Trek fan. And now we've got season 3 of Star Trek Picard, where Metalis is a showrunner for every episode. Again, huge Star Trek fan. These people love the Star Trek, know the source material, and are very respectful. Give these people the run and you will reap the benefits of this. And I know Paramount Plus is going through a budgetary crisis and they're trying to cut back. If you are trying to cut back, literally all you need is 2 or 3 series. You don't need 4, 5, 6, 7. If you've got Lower Decks, Strange New Worlds, and a TNG, you can write your own checks on that and people will absolutely love it. So I think it's probably best because have you seen the time?
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. We've been talking that long. Oh my God.
I think it's probably best if we wrap this up, Graeme.
I think we should.
So thank you to everyone who has joined us tonight. We love each and every one of you. I am going to do a little bit of self-promotion now, Graeme.
Oh my God.
Because
some onerism.
Tonight, I'm burning the midnight oil tonight. So I am recording a lovely show called Off the Shelf for Spectrum Sanctorum. I do apologize. My mouth locked up there. Off the Shelf for Spectrum Sanctorum, where I get to discuss the wall of bankruptcy. So I will be recording that tonight with the lovely team at Spectrum Sanctorum. So I will post the link in the Nerdy Up North Facebook community when that is live on the YouTube. So you can come and have a look at all my reasons I have insane contents insurance and why no one but Paul will ever know my address. I am doing that tonight. Do you want to promote what you are doing for the next...
oh God! Tomorrow I'm resting. It'll be amazing. Paul's just saying in the chat on Sunday, Nerdy Up North has the podcast where it is the top 5 deaths in movies. Are you on that one, Goodwill?
I'm not.
You're not? Okay.
I am not. It's top 5 deaths in movies, which is 7:30 p.m. UK time on the Nerdy Up North YouTube channel. Tuesday, I will be twitching my final episode of Far Cry 5. So it will be a bit emotional for me because I played that game it's my first ever solo game on Twitch. Yeah. So I'll be looking forward to finishing that.
You should be warned because on Thursday, I'm going to the Newcastle Beer Festival. It's tradition. Me and my mates have done it for every year. This might be our 15th year doing it. Okay. So I will be mortal by the time you're streaming this. So if I'm watching you streaming it,
I'm on Tuesday. I'm streaming on Tuesday.
Oh, on Tuesday. Oh,
yes.
Okay. No, I won't be able
Thursday, we are safe from drunk Sinois.
Damn it! I was just going to come on and just abuse the fuck out of you. Be like, you're rubbish.
Yeah, well, I am. But so that's me for the next week. And then obviously this time next week will be... Paul might stream on Twitch.
Paul might stream just to get the abuse. Which is like that. Yeah,
yeah. So obviously this time next week we will be back. Whether or not we'll be live, I don't know. That's up to our cult leader, Paul.
He said we won't be. Paul said we won't be live next week, so it'll probably be this episode coming out on Saturday.
Oh, it'll be out on Saturday.
At your pleasure. What is your pleasure,
guys,
mister? I need to promote my voodoo stuff, but yeah.
Yes, you do. Please do.
Yeah. No, it doesn't matter to any of you because most of you are American. But and also I think the event's sold out. But no, I'm having a day off tomorrow, which will be lovely. Just got to do some rehearsal. I've got a dance section to rehearse and learn how to do that. And then on Sunday, I will finally be at the Drag Idol final at Boulevard in Newcastle. It is a big, grandiose affair with lots of backing dancers and crazy stuff. I will be there doing interviews with all the contestants and all of the judges and loads of other people, because basically it's one of these wonderful things where every year all of the big drag alumni and the sort of, what are they called, the legendary drag kings and queens or whatever around the area basically come together and we all get dressed up and stuff. So it'll be great interviewing them and stuff and chatting to all the fans and things. And then watching the show and seeing who actually wins the competition. And then afterwards, I'm performing at the after party, which was quite good. It's really bad, actually, because I didn't agree to the after party, but got roped into it, where basically, like, one of the judges who's running the after show party messaged me saying, hey, you're coming to the after party after the thing. And I'm like, well, I've got people to interview, but once I've finished interviewing them, I'll I'll pop along. And they're like, oh, cool. And then they sent me a message later saying, oh, because you're interviewing people, I've put you on later. And I was like, what? And it's like, and the next thing I know, there's a poster with me on it, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm performing at the after party then.
Well, Nita has just said, and I quote, I'm going to use my best British voice because I know Nita is from Brooklyn. Shake what your mama gave you. Nita, if you have a look at the description below, I love doing this. I've always seen YouTubers do this.
How do we know it's below? Is it
because I put it? I got Paul to put it there.
Maybe she's got a monitor upside down.
Well, I don't know. Right. But if you look at the description below, guys, you will see all of the lovely, lovely links. So we have got the link to the Facebook group, Nerdy Up North, which I know for a fact that Nita has joined tonight because I approved her. You can't leave, Nita. So we got facebook.com/groups/Nerdy Up North. We are at 7,300 plus cult members at the moment.
Too many.
Most of them deranged people from the northeast of England, which I love.
And then Gabe.
And then we have shout out to Gabe.
American.
Gabe from Washington State. We have Instagram.com/Nerdy Up North. We have a Patreon as well, where you can see exclusive content, where the lovely Sammy has been doing her Game of Thrones videos. So that's Patreon. Search for Nerdy Up North on Patreon. We have Twitter, twitter.com/Nerdy Up North. We have obviously Twitch, twitch.tv/Nerdy Up North, where you get to see this lovely face in all these various unicorn.
It's so beautiful. Oh my god, I can't wait to see that beautiful face on Twitch and there, like playing Far Cry. Oh my god.
Well, guess what, guys?
Beautiful.
Guess what, guys? Cynoise is also on Twitch. What is your Twitch handle, Cynoise?
It's Cynoise. So it's just to make it really difficult to spell. I should have done the Velvet Snatch in hindsight.
It's in the description. It's in your video. It's in this very video.
SYNOIZ. I'm supposed to be streaming after this, but my voice is ruined, so I don't think I do. I will.
He needs to go to an alcove urgently.
Yeah, I need to be plugged into an alcove.
We need to put him on. We need to put him on fast charge. That's what we need to do. You can follow Science Officer Cynoise on YouTube, youtube.com /@TheVelvetSnatch.
Yep. Also, watch Snatch Talk. That's the episode. Because people are asking me if I'm going to be drinking Sarah Peach, if I'm going to be drinking on Tuesday. Sadly, on Tuesday, I will be recording Snatch Talk. So I will have to be in drag again to record the final episode of Snatch Talk for this year, for this season at least. It's really difficult. I've got people asking me to keep doing it for different things, and he is
an absolute trooper, guys. I have never known anyone work as hard as Cynoise has.
But the thing, because I'm kind of tempted to play Final Fantasy VIII tonight, but I don't think I'd be talking. I don't think I'd be doing the voices, so it'd probably just be me playing Triple Triad
and eating pizza in front of the camera. Please eat pizza in front of the camera as well. We enjoyed that.
To order pizza, to be fair, but I just had lunch before this. Anyway, I will stop interrupting.
So we've got the link. Yes. So we've got a link to Cynoise's Twitch in our description as well. You can follow me on Twitter. So I'm twitter.com/Goodwill None. Where you can follow all my adventures, where I annoy literally everyone who has ever been related to Star Trek, because I really love Star Trek, and I think that Star Trek is a huge family that I want to be part of. I am on Twitch on Tuesday, like I said, doing Far Cry 5, 6:30 p.m. UK time. So please come and enjoy me in my unicorn hats and play as many goddamn sound effects as you can, because I've got some great ones, and I will dance. I will dance for you.
Oh, I'll dance. We'll do it like Nita's saying, you will shake what your mama gave you.
My mother will be disappointed if she ever saw what I was shaking. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. We will see you next week for the next episode of Star Trek with Nerdy Up North. So take care, guys, and bye-bye.
Goodbye.